We are team engaging stakes. The team was composed of Louise, Jonah, Fran, Yui, John, Russell, and Will.
The challenge was to reinvent the way stakeholder management is done to be more dynamic and utilizing graph theory, to avoid such problems such as governance boards should be configured so that they consist of individuals who hold genuine decision-making authority.
The static stakeholder map with no real insights. A lot of conversations play out like this.
How does the election results impact our project?
Well, from a 2D stakeholder matrix, we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
How do we manage time risk relating to planning?
I suppose we could ask them how long it will take.
Who wants to know about the new carriages?
I tell you what, let's just send a newsletter to the Railway Forum.
John, we've got some new carriages arriving next week. Who can I target with my press release? And is there anything else I should know?
We'll sit down, Fran. We'll have a look. So what we can do is we'll first of all map our objectives out on our map. We're really interested in the new train carriages. So we'll look at this one. What I could do is just tell you a few key facts about it if you want. I can look at relationships, tell you if there's anything important there, look at the neighbours, but we'll do it on the map form. So let's get rid of all the other objectives. So let's just clear the screen, start again. And what we could do is expand on the new train carriages to see the relationships. What you can see is that there's strong positive relationships between the Railway Forum and the train manufacturers, and some positive relationship towards the increasing capacity, another objective. But let's have a look at the Railway Forum. Look at what's going on there. So what you can see now is actually that there's a very strong negative relationship to the lobby groups against. So this is quite interesting actually. So what you could do is probably add a couple of lines for different stories, maybe preempt our social media team that might get a bit of a spike of reaction from the lobbyists. What do you think?
Great, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to plan to do a press release about the trains, and then I can let the Railway Forum know. And I'll make sure to add a couple of lines around increasing capacity and be prepared for some negative tweets from the rail groups. Thanks, John.
John, our new station project is due to break ground in 3 months, but I've not had anything back from the planning application yet. Any ideas of what could be holding this up?
Well, let's sit down, Russell, and we'll have a look. So what we can do is search on that exact objective. So let's map our objectives up, and then we can look for anything that's got the trains or train stations in it. So there's one, new train stations. That's our one that we want to concentrate on. So let's move it to the middle. Now what we can do is just get rid of all the nodes and tidy this up. So this is just saying us there's a few little bits of information we can find about it just by hovering over it. But let's expand the connections and see where we're going. So just to let you know, oranges are risks associated with this objective, and the dark blues are stakeholders, and the grey is an additional objective that's linked to this. So you can see just by hovering over that you get extra information, IDs, any properties that might be associated with that. And then these connections are color coded based on whether they're not a negative or positive, and the weighting of them is the strength of that relationship. So let's expand on local authority, because that's where we think maybe our planning issue is. And straight away you can see there's a triangular connection here. So our time risk related to planning can actually be linked with the local authority. Now this is really interesting, because what this graph is telling you that whilst the residents are in favour of a new station, the local authority are not. They also influence the planning decision. Is there anything we can do to understand why they are against the station? Maybe this will help reduce the time for planning.
Yeah, that's really insightful, John. And, you know, Mary, who used to work for our public relations team, she's now moved over to the local authority. I bet if we ask her, she might be able to shine some light on this. Nice one.
Utilizing graph algorithms, we can determine which stakeholders are the top enablers and disruptors. Furthermore, we can analyze the objectives in the same way, allowing the project manager to be more efficient, focusing on the most important objectives.
So we try to think about how could we take it to the next level. So the stakeholders graph database could be linked to an algorithm, artificial intelligence, machine learning that itself would be fed by something like a sentiment classification model that would take stakeholders data such as meeting minutes, when the stakeholder changes, when there are conflicts, to be able in a dynamic fashion, not only to inform project delivery metrics, but also learn from experience.
So if time was not a factor, what additional challenges would we like to solve with this work? So basically, we would like to add the extra level of time taken into consideration, and over time build up a picture of our stakeholders and tie that to potential project events that's happened, both positive and maybe not so positive. With that picture, we would then be able to overlay that with our current initiatives and actually help us to focus on where we needed to put time and resource to potentially mitigate any risks based on previous stakeholder behaviour.
Has the data posed any obstacles in the way we approach this, and how can we improve in the future? So the volume and the condition of the source data that we used on this challenge was from Crossrail, and it wasn't perfect. There were a lot of issues that we had to solve and clean in pre-transformation prior to importing into the Graph Network database. Given more time, we'd like to have properly implemented sentiment analysis in a layer prior to the Graph Network. And for future instances, we'd like to fully automate the entire system, so there'd be a full suite of ratified and rationalized tools to allow the efficient capture of data that wouldn't need future processing and provide a nice stable solution.
We were asked how we could handle time as the project progresses, whether or not the stakeholder map can update with that. So if we could link this to a schedule, for instance, that's resourced with, say, skill set, it could be a structural engineer's hours involved in a design stage, then we would be able to forward look and say, actually, that could be an issue and we need to get into contract earlier. So maybe we could bring back the contract inside 2 weeks earlier. So that would anticipate and react to risks or problems as they emerge moving forward. So yes, we can do that as well.